Alright, so nagbabalik tayo sa ating violin tips and tricks. And for today's video, let's talk about note reading. But this time, let's talk about why you should be able to not just read your parts, but also be able to read other people's notes, no? Other instruments, notation. Bakit importante yon for a string player, no? Especially for those people who are just starting out, no? And you hopefully want to be able to play with a group, no? Whether that's a string quartet, a small chamber group, or an orchestra. But importante na kaya mong magbasa ng iba't ibang klase ng notes. Okay? So, when we talk about note reading, kasi usually pumapasok lang sa isip natin is, of course, reading the G clef, no? Kasi yun yung madalas ginagamit sa violin, which is totally fine if you're not looking into playing with other people. If this is just your hobby, let's say na, madali namang makahanap ng music sheets online that you want to read, no? Mababasa mo na yon. You're not necessarily limited. But there are other types of clefs, other types of notes na hindi mo masyadong maiintindihan if you don't really try and learn them, no? So there are other instruments, no? For example, yung viola, no? If you are a violinist who wants to play the viola in the future maybe, so magka-aral ka ulit ng panibagong set of notes, no? Not necessarily the names and all of those, yung mga sounds, but how to be able to read those notes within a score, no? So importante talaga na matutunan natin yan. Okay? So, like, if you have formal training, no, pag nag-college ka or you went to the university, usually, kahit anong instrument yung hawakan mo, whether you're playing the violin, the cello, the flute, clarinet, you also need to be able to play the piano. It's a basic thing na kailangan marunong ka, at least basic piano, in order for you to, finish your degree. No? Kailangan marunong ka magpiano because you need to understand how things are working, no? Kasi the piano, you have a huge range when it comes to the notes that you can play. Now, the piano, usually, ang binabasa natin ay G clef and F clef, or treble and bass clef, no? So, left hand, right hand. I won't get into too much details, but you're reading two set of notes at the same time. Magkaiba yung pangalan ng mga nota dun sa isa and dun sa isa. Now, if you are playing with a bigger group, let's say for example a string quartet, the scores look like this usually, no? So we have violin 1, violin 2, so parehas sila ng binabasa, which is G clef or treble clef. Now we have the viola, which you are going to be reading an alto clef, which is a C clef, no? And then cello, usually you play the bass clef. So, mapapansin natin, no, in a string quartet setting, you need to be able to read three types of clefs. So, what are clefs ba? No? So, clefs are basically modifiers, no? They modify the placement of the notes, kung ano yung mga nota sa bawat line and bawat space inside the staff, because it varies from the range na kaya niyang ma-produce, no? So the bass clef, usually you're producing low notes, no? So mabababa yung mga nota. Now the alto clef or the C clef that the viola reads is right in the middle yung range niya. And then of course, when you're reading the G clef, you are a little bit on the higher side of the spectrum. So ganun yung pagkakaiba ng clefs. Hindi one size fits all, no? Now, when you go to an orchestra setting, maraming pang mag-iiba dyan. Minsan may clef na parehas, pero magkaiba yung sound. So, there are still transposing instruments, yung mga ganon. It gets really complicated. But the idea or the premise here is being able to identify the name of the note in order for you to, create better sounding music. Kasi pag naiintindihan mo yung ginagawa ng iba, especially if you are playing with a group, you can contribute more, no? So, for example, kasi usually in a string quartet, diba? Hindi ka naman laging tumutugtog. There will be times that there will be solos, there will be parts na you are not the main melody, even if you're playing first violin, for example, diba? Hindi puro melody lang yung tutugtugin mo. There's different arrangements that would happen, no? Sometimes the cello would play the melodies. Ngayon, kung hindi mo masyado kabisado yung piece or the song or the music that you're playing, you could look at the score and see what's happening, no? You get a better understanding of what's happening if you understand not just your part, but the parts of other people. It makes you a more well-rounded musician. Pag naiintindihan mo yung ginagawa ng iba, ano yung kailangan mong gawin, no? Not just for feel, of course, pa-importante na ma-feel din natin kung ano yung ginagawa nila. But, you know, the formal structure of things, when you look at it and you understand how it works, it becomes easier for you to feel those things, no? So, for example, yung cello pala yung nagpi-play ng melody and you're just playing like whole notes. So, hindi mo pwedeng lakasan kasi naiintindihan mo na the cello is playing the melody needs to be higher, no? Yung volume niya, yung levels niya. So, those types of things, no? Now, when it comes to an orchestra setting, pag naiintindihan mo din yung ginagawa nyo, no? And be able to look at it. Usually kasi mga orchestra pieces, especially if they are long, there would be cues, no? Minsan the cues are written in the instruments score. So for example, kahit nasa iyo, no, nababasa mo doon pero nasa bass clef pala, no? Yan. So of course, I think this advice or this tip would not be that helpful for a lot of, you know, yung mga advanced musicians na that they're playing with the group, but for people who are striving to be able to play with an orchestra or a small group, di ba? It's really important that you understand na marami pa. There's more to it than just reading the G clef, no? Kasi akala ng iba, pag marunong ka na magbasa ng G clef, alam mo na lahat, no? But there's a lot more things to explore, no? It's not that difficult if you already have that background of note reading, no? Kasi yung G clef, it's very basic, but it's not really the easiest, no? To be honest. It's quite tricky minsan sa iba, no? So, yung bass clef, ganun din. So, depende kung saan ka nag-start mag-read ng notes, eh. So, being able to at least read at least bass clef and treble clef, no? Kasi yung mga piano scores na mada-download mo, minsan may isip mo, hala, bakit ganon? Yung pala nasa melody, nasa bass yung melody. So, hindi mo na siya mababasa, no? Now, the question is, bakit kailangan ko pang aralin yun kung hindi ko rin naman matutugtog? But you can actually, no? You can just, you know, transpose it, itaas mo ng isang octave, those types of things. Pag naiintindihan mo, pag nababasa mo yung bass clef, for example, tapos nandun nga yung melody, diba? Pwede mo siyang itaas with the same set of notes, just a little bit higher register. So, pwede mo pa rin matugtog. Mas marami yung matutugtog mo. Not necessarily isang clef lang, edi isa lang yung matutugtog mo. Pag nagkaroon ng changes in the clefs, changes in the notations, magkakaroon ka ng problem. So, it's really a practical advice as well, no? Not just for, yun nga, if you're striving to become part of a group, no? If you wanna play music better, no? Just overall, make better music by understanding how to read, how to play certain things, no? Kahit nga hindi mo siya tutugtugin, if you can read it and you can sing it in your head, you get a better idea of how things work, and at the end of the day, it will make you a better musician. Ayan. So sana nakatulong tong video na to. If it did, please do drop a like, comment down below more content you'd like to see, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on all my socials. All the links you need down in the description box below. This has been Ryan Monakil for Violin Tips and Tricks, and I'll see you on the next video.